The young people that you see who are activists today draw a lot of inspiration from the life and the activities, political activism of the late Solomon Mahlangu. You will remember that in 2015, 2016, and I think that's when the story was done as a feature, as a news feature, of how that generation of the Fees Must Fall activists, when they would sing about Solomon Mahlangu, it would hark back to his activism, and he does continue to be an iconic figure in our history, and today he's being remembered. Nathi Mthethwa there in his capacity, I believe, as minister, and that event seems to be an ANC event. I don't want to get into that. Not today. Right, let's continue with this coverage. I'm joined by by eNCA's Kalushi Mahlangu, who is at the cemetery there in Mamelodi. Kaya, thank you for joining me. So it's been a day of commemoration of Solomon Mahlangu, led by the ANC leaders, but also featuring members of his family. What is the key thread that has stood out for you among the speeches that have been delivered today?
Well, that's right, Tilasiza. It's been a day to commemorate one of the martyrs of our freedom, and of course 42 years down the line. I think what has been a very key thread across all the speakers, Tilasiza, has been an issue of the values that he aspired for, and what he did for South Africa, its freedom, achievement, attainment of freedom eventually in 1994, and also the very iconic quotes that he really left behind when he was taken down to the gallows, where he's saying his blood should nourish the freedom, and so that we have an opportunity eventually as a country to see emancipation. So, but also a very important message from the side of the family. So they've gone as far as calling for the case to be reopened. We know that it was quite a very controversial case. You look at when he was captured in the 70s and eventually hanged in 1979, one of the young people to be hanged by the apartheid regime. But of course, Tilasiza, quite a number of people are here, and one of them is, of course, the South African Communist Party. And joining us now is Dr. Alex Mashilo. So, Doctor, thank you so much indeed. You got an opportunity to speak, Doctor, and one of the issues that you denounced was the issue of corruption in South Africa, where you said Mahlangu would have been quite dismayed by all these reports, where we see from time to time very high-ranking members, even at times, linked into very serious crimes.
Corruption is an antithesis of freedom. It takes away the resources that the people need for the development of their communities, for what we call human development. It takes away resources from education, it takes away resources from health, it takes away resources from production. Our productive structure as South Africa is very small. We have over 11 million people who are unemployed, actively seeking work, and those who are discouraged from doing so because they have been looking for work for a long time without any success. And if you have people who steal billions and billions and billions, like the billions of monies that were said to have been lost in inverted commas at the South African State Security Agency, it is a problem. We are losing the resources that we need to transform and develop our country. This is why we have denounced corruption, and we unwaveringly supported the ANC's resolution that those who are charged before the courts of law with allegations of corruption and serious criminality have to step aside within 30 days. That resolution, we think the ANC is giving leadership by placing emphasis on its implementation.
And of course, Doctor, we know that the topical issue surrounds the current Secretary General of the ruling party, Ace Magashule, and earlier we got an opportunity to speak to the ANC Treasurer General Paul Mashadile, and he said there is fairness within the ANC. People should explore the avenues. What's the sense from the Communist Party? After all, you are part of the Tripartite Alliance.
It is important to avoid personalizing or individualizing resolutions because you will make them unfair. For the process to be fair, you have to appreciate that the resolution was adopted by ANC branches in 2012 at the 53rd National Conference of the ANC held in Mangaung, and 5 years later, in 2017 December, ANC branches reaffirmed the correctness of that resolution, not looking at a particular individual, but as a matter of principles, that once you are charged before the courts of law with allegations of corruption or serious criminality, in order to preserve and protect the integrity of the movement, you have to step aside until those processes are concluded. The Treasurer General of the ANC, Comrade Paul Mashatile, is correct to say fair processes must be seen to be unfolding. That has to happen, which is why the ANC gave those who are implicated by the resolution 30 days to step aside, and knowingly that they will make an assessment of their rights and responsibilities as required by that resolution.
And Doctor, when you look at the challenges facing mainly the young people in South Africa, Solomon Mahlangu was only 23 years old when he was hanged. And when you look at the number of socioeconomic challenges we're facing, most of the young people still bear the brunt of a number of challenges. You know, the challenges concerning the tertiary fees and stuff like that, but also when it comes to employment as well, we still do see that a lot of young people are unemployed. What can we do today to draw inspiration from this giant that we're remembering today in terms of making sure that we not just seeing these young people just languishing in poverty?
Rome was not built in a day. However, it is important in every construction or building project to be guided by a plan. We have to rebuild our economy. We have to transform the economy. We have to expand the productive base of the economy so that it can absorb those who are unemployed. We have to drive skills development. We need a skills revolution. The challenges in education, of course, they are and should be attended to so that more young people gain access to education. Having done so, it is important to increase the levels of investment in the economy, because without investment, it is going to be very difficult to expand economic activity and economic output. And because economic activity will be as low as we have seen it throughout the periods of recessions, it will be very, very difficult to absorb more young people into employment. Very importantly, we also do not need to limit our attention to creating opportunities for employment. Many other young people have talents that need to be developed. They need to employ others. So we need to support particularly cooperatives. But the government has announced plans. Those plans have to be strengthened, taking into consideration the adverse impact of the coronavirus pandemic.
All right, Doctor, thank you so much indeed for your time. So, Tilasiza, that's of course Dr. Alex Mashilo from the South African Communist Party. And of course, the very quote I was looking for, Tilasiza, it's this one. Tell my people that I love them and that they must continue the fight. My blood will nourish the tree that will bear the fruit of freedom. A luta continua. So these are the remarks that were made by Solomon Mahlangu as he was going down. And it was quite a very gut-wrenching moment, Tilasiza, when we got an opportunity to go to the gallows, where some of the people, of course, who saw that particular moment were reliving that particular time during the apartheid regime, where a lot of freedom fighters were hanged, essentially trying to fight for democracy in South Africa.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, there's been that remembrance of the 52 steps to the gallows when a condemned prisoner would be taken from one end of the prison there in Pretoria, today known as Jose Mampuru prison. There's a gallows section there where a prisoner would be led along the 52 steps to the gallows to be hung there. Kalushi Mahlangu, thank you, putting that story in its historical perspective, while at the same time reflecting the today of it all, the happenings inside the African National Congress. And of course, that's relevant in the sense that this is the organization that Solomon Mahlangu used really as a vehicle to express his activism, right? It was a path for him to express his activism because he was a member of the ANC's Umkhonto Wesizwe when he was captured and later condemned to die and be killed by hanging in the apartheid, during the apartheid regime.